You are listening to the Cognitive Preference Podcast, where we explore the fascinating ways in which our brains process information, make decisions, and perceive the world around us. My name is Robert Brown. I'm here with Francis Sopper, the originator of the Kairos assessment, which is a series of questions that reveals how your brain prefers to think, listen, observe, move, read, and talk. If you haven't taken the assessment, you might struggle to follow along with what we're talking about in the show. You can take the assessment at kairoscognition.com. Today we're talking about the observer preference, how we see the world around us. Frank, can you explain what the observer preference is and how it differs from the other cognitive preferences?
Yeah, observer is our receptivity to meaningful visual information. Again, our surroundings are full of things to see. Some portion of that's meaningful and actionable, and some of it's just stuff that doesn't need our attention. Our observer is what allows us to pick up meaningful and actionable and useful information, apply our attention and energy to it, and then upload it for action. So one of the examples I often give that people will recognize is driving at high speed down a highway. So you're moving rapidly through your environment. Same thing if you're walking down a busy sidewalk in a city. You're moving rapidly through your environment. There are all of these things going on around you. And in order to move safely through that environment, you've got to be, information's coming at you, opportunity, threat. And to keep proceeding safely, you've got to be able to pick up on what's important. So when you're moving down a busy sidewalk, you're paying attention to all of those people coming at you and trying to make sure you're moving so that you're not crashing into each other. But you also have to make sure that a grate isn't opened up on the sidewalk in front of you so that you then you see other people moving out of your way. They're not moving out of your way. They're moving out of the way of the hole in the ground that you're about to walk into. So anyway, those are the things that our observer is trying to pay attention to. And it processes information as close to light speed as that meat process inside our hard shell will allow. And so that's when someone is moving at high speeds down a highway. Now you're moving much faster than a human can move on our own, but nonetheless, you're able to recognize red lights going on in front of you, identify them as brake lights, understand that you need to take your foot off the accelerator, put it on the brake with exactly the right amount of pressure for the right amount of time to come to a safe stop. Meanwhile, checking the rearview mirror to make sure the tractor trailer truck behind you is doing the same thing, so that you can come to a safe stop. And remarkably, when all that happens well, it happens in about 1/30 of a second. So really, without any conscious awareness or reflection, that happens.
What you're seeing in the world, you're measuring the essential and symbolic information. Can you talk more about that?
Sure. On the left-hand side, the left-hand bell curve in that lighter blue area represents what we call the selective observer, and the right-hand bell curve in that darker blue area references the symbolic, what we call the symbolic observer. So what we've learned when we went out to study our receptivity to meaningful visual information is that we have two components to it. There's our receptivity for meaningful, what we call essential information, and then our receptivity for meaningful symbolic information. And one of the ways we represent the difference between the two is to take a cup for a hot beverage. So that cup has essential quality. It has a size, it has a volume, it has an insulating capacity, it has the way the handle responds to your hand and the rim to your lip, all of which allow it to do its functionally useful job of conveying a hot beverage. And we're able to observe those qualities and understand when you're selecting a mug from the shelf, which one's going to feel right to you, which one's going to hold the amount that you typically want to have for a hot beverage, which one's going to be less drippy, all of those things that are going to have that essential experience of drinking from a cup holding a hot beverage. And then that same mug might have symbolic quality. It might have your company's brand or your college logo on it. It might have been made by a potter you know, or it might have been a gift, a souvenir, or even a family heirloom, in which case it's got a story attached to it. Now, that story doesn't allow it to do its functionally useful job any better, but we use that symbolic information to convey information about ourselves to other people. So somebody sees us using that mug, that particular mug, and they can recognize symbolic quality in it that tells a little bit of a story about you. We see this in watches all the time. If you just want a functional watch, you can get a watch that keeps perfectly good, a digital watch that keeps perfectly good time for, I don't know, 30, 40 bucks, maybe even less. At the same time, people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for watches. It's not because they keep time any better, but that piece of jewelry on your arm now has symbolic meaning, and people use that symbolic meaning typically to convey wealth and out of that presumably power. So just want to keep time, walk into Target, pick up a watch, might even be able to get one in a supermarket that will get you out to all of your appointments on time. If you want to convey wealth and power and don't think you can do it on your own, then you get a very expensive watch.
Thank you for listening to today's show. See you in the next one.